So first I'm going to import the text from the book Moby Dick. So here I've found a page that contains all the text. And when you're trying to find data like this, it's always good to find a basic website if you can, as opposed to one with like complicated HTML. And I'm going to name this MD for Moby Dick. And after I've imported it, I'm going to replace MD with 2 lowercase. Okay, that's just going to turn all of the letters into lowercase letters. So let's start this importing. And the question I want to investigate is, maybe it's a more general version of this one I have written down in the comment, which is if you fix some letter like B, what letter shows up after B most often? So for example, like, does the letter K ever show up right after B? So we can investigate that. So let's just check how long is this string length MD. So you can tell that it's a very long passage that we've imported, or very long book that we've imported, over 1 million characters. And so let's count. So string count inside of MD. How often does, say, BK show up? Okay, never shows up. What about BE? Okay, that shows up a lot of times, 4,200. So let's write a function. Let me call it, how about car count? And this is going to take 2 inputs. Let me call them X and Y. And then this is going to do string count. How often in MD does XY show up? But do you see what the problem is with this? So when I'm writing this, I'm thinking like, take the letter B, take the letter E, and place them right next to each other. Okay, but that's not what this is doing. This is giving me a variable X, a variable Y, and XY is a totally unrelated variable. So I need some other way to indicate I want this letter followed by this letter. And one way to do that inside of Mathematica with string patterns is to use this tilde tilde. Okay, so let me try this. Okay, I've defined this function, and it's good to be in the habit, like in case we change this later, it's good to be in the habit of clearing it in the same cell. Okay, so notice that it's in the same cell. I have a single bracket over here, and let me evaluate it again. So let's just check to see if I did it right. So what about B, comma, E? And do you see what I've done wrong? Problem is that these aren't characters. These are just variables or symbols. So let's put them inside quotation marks. And now I've gotten the exact same answer as I got up here. And so next, let's make a list of what's the count for the letter A, the letter B, and so on, all following B. So what's that going to be? So let me call this, I'm eventually going to put in a bar chart. So let me clear this function that I'm going to call like make bars. And then let me define make bars. And this is just going to take a single letter, X, okay, like the letter X up here. And then we're going to define this to be table. And I want to go through all the letters A, B, C, D, all the way up to Z. So how can I get that? Well, here's one way. Okay, so let's call this lower cars, okay, for the lowercase characters. And then I'm going to say for all Y in lower cars. Okay, so I'm using the second type of iterator here. And then what do I want to put in this list? I want to put this character count of X comma Y. So let me evaluate that. And let me try make bars of this letter B. So as a reality check, here's supposed to be A, B, C, D, E, Okay, so this really does correspond to the same number we got up above when we were counting how often does the 2 consecutive letters BE occur in Moby Dick. And so why do I call this make bars? Well, let me show you. So I hit return but not shift return there. And I'm going to name this, how about CTS for counts? And so when you're defining a function, it doesn't just have to be a number or a string on the right-hand side. You can also have some sequence of expressions. So here I'm saying when we evaluate make bars, first define this CTS to be this list, and then put it into a bar chart. So I can do bar chart CTS. So let's try this. Okay, that's looking great. And now let's also put in some chart labels. So we'll do chart labels, and we'll say these are lower cars. Oh, and what have I done wrong? Oh, I didn't put it inside the brackets here. Okay, so this is supposed to be an option for the bar chart function. So now we get the same thing. Okay, you can see this 4,200 above the letter E. And yeah, this worked for the letter B. What about for other letters? Well, let me try it. Let me try to do manipulate, make bars X for every X in lower cars. And now I get this nice selector here. And if I go to B, I get that same bar chart I saw before. Or if I go to, say, L, okay, here I get this other bar chart. So what was the main point of this video? I guess one point that doesn't have much to do with strings is that when you're defining a function, it's okay to have multiple lines used in the definition of the function. Okay, like here I first set this CTS as a preliminary definition, and then I used it in the actual output of the function. So that was one of the 2 main points. And I think the other main point was that I used this syntax here, this syntax related to string expressions, for saying, give me the letter X immediately followed by the letter Y.